This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
The Treasurer knows the rule on crops.
By 1990, no Australian child will be living in poverty.
Well, may we say, God save the Queen, because nothing will save the Governor General.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
I want to do this slowly.
I believe we are in danger of being swamped by Asians.
But we will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
People are entitled to their sexual proclivities.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not.
The Australian public does not want to see this place descend into a political colosseum.
Just sit down, Buffett.
Welcome to The Take. Hi, I'm Tish. This is The Take. We are here talking about Graham Platner and the shitty leftists who are not doing a good job. Okay, and they're not leftists anyway. We're going to be looking at a couple of different people. I know that Bad Empanada has already covered them, like quite a few. And mad respect to Bad Empanada. He is, you know how Hassan is one of the guys we're going to talk about, right? He said that Graham Platner is his goat, my fucking goat. Well, that's Bad Empanada for me, my fucking goat. He's always right. As I explained in my previous video, yes, I do apologize. It was in 3 parts. Like, I was making that video for 2 fucking weeks. It was infuriating. Anyway, moving on. If you've checked that out, that is more about Graham person, why he's a shitty choice to elect to the Senate in Maine. Again, why does someone like me, just an old lady from Queensland, Australia, and, you know, all the best leftists come from Australia. Oh no, I better not say that in jest, otherwise a bread tuber might make a video about me saying I have a colonizer accent. Love Tabernacle, big support to him. If you know that, if you know, you know. Anyway, so I care about this because, unfortunately, due to what and who America is, their day-to-day, their political system, their choices, their wars, they affect our lives. I told this story, like, you don't need to have watched the last video to watch this one, but it will help. And I'm a similar age to Graham Platner. I was a young person. I was in my early 20s when Iraq happened, and I did get radicalized towards, you know, anti-war and leftist ideals. So I have been acutely aware of how Australia is affected by America and have hated it forever. Now, the good news is Trump seems to be really like fucking with that reputation. Good job. But, you know, I don't hate China. I think China's been doing some good shit. Their government projects are really good. But they are also producing the drones that kill Palestinians. So, you know, it's not all good. But they've got high-speed rail. They've got, you know, they're using renewables. They've produced a really good, cheap electric car. I'm gonna buy. My next car is gonna be a BYD. Build your dreams. I'm getting one next. So, Who is the new superpower? Who knows? But America's on the DL. No, they're on a downward spiral. So Graham Platner is a man who is running in the Democratic. Is he running for the Democratic primary? I think he is running in the primary against Janet Mills, who is the current governor of Maine. And she had a really badass moment in Trump, like the beginning of Trump, because Trump said, like, you're not going to get this funding because you're supporting gender affirming care. And she said, see you in court. It was a really badass bitch move. And other than Israel, she's got good politics. Progressive except Palestine. Okay. There's two types of liberals: progressive except for Palestine. And there's a new one: progressive except Platner. PP. So you'll excuse everything that Graham Platner's done, right? Anyway, he is a combat veteran. He makes sure to mention that. Combat veteran. So he has shot and killed people. And he admitted as such in his Reddit posts. Why did you join the army? For adventure and to kill people. And I succeeded in both those goals. He served 4 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, in Fallujah and Ramadi, when some of the heaviest fighting was happening. He was a guarding the outside of Abu Ghraib from insurgents who wanted to break out people who were, being tortured. That old thing. He worked for contractor Constellus. That's one there is proof of, but it's possible he also worked for Constellus's original sort of company, which was Blackwater, which is a synonymous name with mercenary squads. And what did Graham do? He was in their mercenary squad. So he's been involved in imperialist wars and does not regret his time, talks about it with fondness, brags about it, and his platform is all about paying military more, making sure that I think that they do have a duty to look after vets that they force into stuff. If you're like Graham, where you're like you enjoy it, fuck you. But those vets who it fucks them up and they become anti-war, they need to look after them. But I'm getting a harsher and harsher outlook on American veterans because it's not a poverty draft anymore. The statistics show that there's actually not as many people who are, from lower socio-economic places who are joining. It's people like Graham, who was not working class. That's what they want you to believe as well. He is now an oyster farmer and he owns the farm, so he's not he didn't work on it. And his mum owned a restaurant and his dad was a lawyer. His dad sold him a house for $1. So he owns his own house. He went to 2 private schools, so he's not working class either. But these leftists would have you think that. Now, as a result of all of this BS, I've completely changed who I watch on YouTube. Like, my YouTube used to be every morning, Majority Report, driving to school, and I would listen to the rest of the show, throughout the day. I'd be so excited to to save the Friday show for Monday because in Australia it hits in the middle of the night and so on. I wasn't just a listener, I was also a member, I paid member, and yeah, I was really sad to have let that go. I was going to look at Kyle Kalinske and the two suck ups, like they suck up to Kyle so much. Oh my God. Like it is pathetic. That's the Vanguard. Then Francesca Fiorentini, who when I dropped Majority Report, I was thinking about joining her membership. And then the first person she had on was fucking Sam Cedar after that point. I'm like, and she has a section called "What are you bitching about?" And he was bitching about how people were trying to take Graham Platner down. I'm like, fuck this. But she had a spectacularly bad moment on Blue Sky, which we'll look at. I've never really watched Breaking Points because I don't like Saga and Jetty, who is on it with Krista Ball, who is also Kyle Kalinski's wife. I think it's dangerous to platform people who are like right wing when there's a fascist government in power and somebody who's friends with JD Vance. That's nobody you should be like, oh, let's just have our point and counterpoint. So Crystal Ball was excusing it. So I had never watched it because of that, but Crystal Ball has called she called the Nazi tattoo regrettable. Oh, sorry. Also, the other things that happened, like all that shit that I just said about Graham, should definitely be part, like why he's a bad candidate. But also, he had Nazi tattoos just to seal the deal. Oh, and his stepbrother is a Zionist who has worked with the IDF and has written a book about drone warfare. It's like, what the fuck? And Ryan Grimm is another one. He's on Breaking Points, but he's also got Drop Site News. Who else? Hassan. I am not going to talk about El Chapo, but El Chapo's house. No, what is it? Chapo House. Chapo House. Okay. They also have been simping for Platner. So yeah, we're going to have a look at it a bits and pieces of that, because I don't think anyone should watch them because you can't trust them. You cannot trust these people with the news because they're just going to change so that they can get treats for themselves. And it is very harsh to hear because this is why people don't really like Bad Empanada. I like Bad Empanada. I don't care how he fucking delivers his videos. He's telling the truth. Like, shut the fuck up and listen to him. He doesn't do it because he's hateful. He does it because he wants people to stand 10 toes down on their principles, like he does. And if they can excuse Graham Platner for his past, which he has not expressed remorse. Okay, he has not said that he's ashamed of his fucking what I did was wrong or anything like that. He talks very proudly about it. He was also on the subreddit of combat footage or something like that, where you share, guess what, combat footage. Talked very fondly about it. So they are trying to say that there's like, oh, is there no room in the Democratic Party for redemption? Of course. And of course, as humans, we should give each other the opportunity to do better when we know more and when we can take stock of what our contribution to the problem was, right? But Graham Platner hasn't done that. And also, his victims are Iraqis and Afghans. Those fucking leftist creators can't redeem him. It is not your job. You can't accept the apology for those people. And it's disgusting that they are. And I just think, just shows what shitty people they are, because they're simultaneously saying, don't join ICE. Oh, what if you really need the money? Join the military, but don't join ICE. Okay. They only care about it. This is a bad empanada point. They're only caring about it because it is hurting Americans that they can see very easily, right? The Iraqis and Afghans, out of sight, out of mind. Who cares? Even though I know for a fact that Francesca Fiorentini and Sam Cedar were very against the Iraq war. Francesca was in the streets protesting. She worked for Al Jazeera, and that's why I was so disappointed with her. She was out there in the streets, and she was like, "No, it's just a silly little tattoo." I know that it's a Nazi tattoo, but anything that comes after that, get fucked. Anyway, I hope you enjoy our big deep dive into the creators who you should not be giving your support to, because they will betray their principles as soon as it's convenient for them. All right. First on the chopping block, we have the Majority Report. Majority Report is a weekly podcast that has a host, Sam Cedar, who is Gen Xer, older guy, but has always been supposedly left wing, but he's more like a liberal. He hosts it with Emma Vigeland, who she's a millennial, I think. I think she's just turned 30. She didn't do a journalism degree. I can't remember what her degree is in, but she started, doing hosting content and things like that. She is from a very privileged background. Sam's been an actor all his life, so I don't think he's particularly privileged. Like, when you're a comedian and an actor, you kind of like take whatever jobs you can. And you can see that the Majority Report is run pretty on a shoestring. However, they do have sponsors, unlike, someone like Taylor Lorenz, who does amazing journalism, but she's too controversial, so she doesn't get sponsorships. Now, I had been a subscriber for a long time, and then I joined the membership. I'd probably been a member for around about a year, because post-Trump, I really did want to support independent journalism, and I had consumed Majority Report for free for 2 years or so, and so I was like, okay, I'll start giving them some money. Now, I'd noticed that they had a sponsorship from ExpressVPN. Okay, where is my phone? On my phone, if I type anything with Express in it, the immediate next word suggested is VPN, because I wrote it in so many comments. Because I'm in Australia, I couldn't join the live chat very often, but I would put it in the live chat, and I emailed a bunch of times. I talked in the Discord. Like, I was on them for about a year, about ExpressVPN because it's Israeli owned by Teddy Sagai. I know this whole fucking story, and when I go to my freaking clipboard, sponsored by ExpressVPN on a day when you are talking about not serving in the IOF is outrageous. The owner is Israeli and gave to the soldiers. Shame, shame, shame. And that was, come on. I stopped watching a number of pods because of their BetterHelp spons. Come on. I've been saying this for half a year now. Don't use ExpressVPN. They are Israeli owned. Who knows what they'll do with your data? And then I've got a saved one about Anna Kasparian because people are putting her up as a great person. She's transphobic and hates poor people and homeless people. Look, why is my phone? How did it know that I was going to call in sick tomorrow? I am sick. This thing. Not real good at the moment. Anyway, so eventually they had 2 calls. They had one call before I started really, really hammering them, and they said, we just follow the BDS list. They're not on it. Okay. Doesn't change the fact that they're still Israeli owned and the owner contributes to the IDF. And then they had a second person call up about a year later saying the same thing. And I was like cheering because the person did the call and they're like, hello, who are you? Why did you call? And they said, have you heard of Teddy Sagai? And I'm like, yes, they're being directly called out. They still really did not address it. And it's a VPN that's going to Israel. What are they doing with the data? And they never address that, So I should not have been surprised when they threw away all their principles for Graham Platner. So what Emma did, she had these tweets. Let's have a look at the tweets. And they've been positively covering Graham since. Shout out to Bad Empanada once again. Let's take a look at the first tweet. This is all on Twitter. This is why, I don't really, if you're still on Twitter, what the fuck? These people are all still on Twitter with a blue check. Good work, girl. How many people get tattoos that they thought looked cool but didn't understand the meaning of? Yeah, probably a few, but not a Nazi symbol. I have a dolphin on my hip, which is from the album by Spiderbait from a long time ago, and but it just looks like a dolphin. It doesn't if it said Spiderbait, that would be really weird because who the fuck is that? I know who it is, but and also I would like to get this covered up. I have I've got a regrettable tattoo. It says goddess in Japanese kanji, and am I Japanese? No. I like Japanese theater, right? And it says female god. I researched it extensively, and now I think it looks silly because I'm not Japanese. Yeah, so yep, people can get tattoos that become cringy, right? That's not what Graham Platner has. And if you refer to my previous episodes about Graham Platner, he definitely was aware of Totenkopf's, and it also is one of the most enduring memes about are we the baddies, right? It's the death's head. It is the mark of the SS. He knew what it was, and I think it is really disingenuous of these people to insist that he didn't. And it just proves how how much they simp for him. Now, next one. How many vets took mercenary work for a period because the US doesn't support them? Yeah, probably a few. And it's true, they treat their vets terribly. But I would hazard a guess that most people, before they enter the army or military, if I say army military, I mean the military. That's just kind of how we say it in Australia. If you, yeah, they would know. Hey, how do you think America treats their vets before they sign up? They would say, "Oh, pretty shit." So you know that's the future. What are you doing when you enlist in the army, in the military? Are you going to be fighting uh, for the imperialist cause, for the colonialist cause? Yeah, because that's what America is. It's an imperialist nation. It forces its views onto other countries, and the military is there to make sure that happens. Like the poem Dulce et decorum est, okay? Dulce et decorum est, the old lie that it is better to serve your country than not. I think that's what that means. It's Latin. It's a wonderful anti-war poem. Oh, I love this poem so much. Dulce et decorum est, bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and toward our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Much had lost their boots, but limped on bloodshot. All went lame, all blind. Drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas, gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dream you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, bitten as the cud of vile incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory. The old lie, Dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. And I nearly read that whole thing without fucking stopping. That old bit of Latin got me. To die for the mother country. I think that's the meaning. It is sweet and proper to die for one's country. Yeah, that's what the translation is. And it I think it's something that's still said and promoted today. I like I have had a lot of grace for veterans for a long time, and I probably still do for Australian servicemen. We know that America uses us. We are the pawn of American military might. We just, oh, can you please like us? So if you join the military, you know that you're going to be subordinate to America. So yeah, it's an interesting choice. So I don't, and also there's this big point that they make about that MMA. So I'm not going to show uh the video of it because I've got a video from Sam Cedar to watch, and she says, like Brian, who's one of their newer producers, said like he's a veteran, and she says, "Is this not true, Brian, that lots of vets go and do mercenary work because they can't find anything else?" And he said, "Yeah, what you don't know is that serving as an infantryman it really doesn't set you up for any job skills." What? You don't get any job skills out of being an in the infantry? In the army? What? That is so hard to believe. Like, if you're, you know, surely even just like teamwork. It's so bizarre that they would say something like that. All right, how many young men have shit posted online? Do you know what? Yeah, probably a lot. Young men do be shit posting. True. Graham Platner wasn't shit posting. He was describing his war crimes and his imperialist fucking ideals and sick fantasies of adventure as he killed people. Because it's all well and good for us to get upset about the leftists and so on, but at the base of this story is a bunch of dead brown people. We know that 9/11 was a con job, that going into war after it, I mean. And yet we still are out here saying, well, we've got to respect our serving servicemen and women. America has their fingers in every single fucking pie in the world. There's maybe parts of Africa where they don't have, local American army fucking enemies, right? So it's just interesting. I said that a lot in my last video. It was interesting. All right. So yeah, big difference between shit posting and telling people who you are. Somebody shows you who they are, you should really believe them. Bad argument number 3. Next one. Do we want an authentic working class party or not? From these people, I know that Emma's parents, both lawyers, so they offered to help her out, but she has a job, so she doesn't need that help. But very similar to Graham Platner, who went to 2 private schools growing up. So, another L from Emma there. He's not working class. He's not working class. And it doesn't matter how many flannel shirts he wears. He's not working class. All right. So the follow-up tweet, Joseph, I'm sorry, Emma, but working for Blackwater and having a Tottenkoff tattoo is not demonstrable of humanistic principles. And she says, he's addressed his stint at Blackwater in our interview. It's difficult for veterans to integrate back into society and find jobs that fit them. He needed the money. It was for a short period. It was for a short. Okay. I find this whole discourse about his background being pretty elitist, to be honest. Oh, I know. It's so elitist, right? Like he is? Like he comes from money? His father is a lawyer. His mother owned a restaurant. His grandfather was a renowned architect who designed a lot of buildings in New York. He went to 2 private schools. Finished high school. His parents knew that he wanted to join the military and they didn't want him to do that, so they paid for a trip backpacking around Europe. Yeah, that's real working class. When somebody with as much privilege as Emma Vigeland says that you're being elitist, whew, oh boy, I got ring, 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 ring. Yeah, yeah, it's the pot calling the kettle black. Yeah, I know. It's pretty ridiculous, right? Yeah, well, she doesn't have to be she's not an elite like that, but she'll drop a name when she needs to. Yeah. Oh, bye. It's just that's gaslighting in my opinion. Like, are you fucking kidding? And he didn't need the money. He could have he wasn't just working as a bartender when he was in college, which is what we keep hearing about. Oh, he needed to do the job. He needed to become a mercenary. He was in college, which was being paid for by the GI Bill, and he had a job as a bartender. Now, isn't it a coincidence that his mother owns a restaurant that has a bar? And yet, he decided he's going to go back over there. Oh, I'm so lonely without my friends. Ugh. And they keep kind of tossing that under the rug too, saying, look, he was just doing security and this, that, and that. Do you think that every cog in the Nazi regime isn't a part of it? So being elite is something that Emma Vigeland does well. She does that real well. And it's not like I haven't seen her be working class and down to earth and speak for workers before. She has. She has it in her. She's just chosen that this is what she's going to base her opinion on in this point of view, in this point in time. And it just drives me bonkers because she has to know that she's doing that she is excusing all this shit. The cognitive dissonance must hurt her brain because, like even they were having a feud with the Young Turks with Anna Kasparian, who sucks and is only good on Palestine. And Anna Kasparian brought in her working class bona fides, saying, she's elite, her parents are rich, etc., etc. And while I don't know, like they're not billionaires, they're both lawyers, I think. So they're comfortable, and she went to private school, all of that sort of shit. And at the time, I thought, yeah, but that doesn't really affect how her beliefs go. She's still a leftist. I still think that she does care about the working class, but she's just got this blind spot here, like just a clear blind spot. And she needs to be called out for it because she knows what the working class is. And that is not Graham fucking Platner going to private schools his whole life, getting a cushy little backpack across Europe, and then joining the military anyway. So the episode that broke me from the Majority Report was when Sam was at the Tort conference. Now, I'm so annoyed that this kicked off then because he had a fantastic guest. She had been human trafficked as a young girl. She's now a lawyer trying to stop human trafficking, and it was such a good interview, and so many people were just talking about Graham Platner. I'm like, this sucks. Sucks that the Majority Report can be so good and then so fucking stupid about this one thing. And it just betrays all of their principles. If you care about, abuse against women, well, Graham Platner minimized sexual assault in the military. Anyway, recently, not that's not like the one from 2010. So it made me, like, when they were talking about it, Emma was so angry. She was vibrating in her chair, and I've seen her be that angry before, and it's usually about somebody, a Zionist, all right? And she was just so angry that people were questioning Graham Platner. And at that point in time, I'm like, dude, just acknowledge that there's red flags and you'll get yourself out of this. Like, why can't even you just say, yeah, you know what? Let's just back off a bit. It does, there's some Reddit posts that are really gross. There's some Reddit posts that might mean he's a communist, but I'd rather just, let his actions prove what he's doing. Because guess what his actions had proven up to that point? That he is a capitalist, imperialist, multi-murderer, unashamed combat veteran. Like, what are we doing here? But no, you had to go all in and say he's the best. Who else are we going to vote for? Who else are we going to vote for? You must want Janet Mills to win. You must want Susan Collins to win. Yeah, okay. It's just bizarre. This was posted as a highlight because they do a live show and then they put clips up later. So this is something that they were proud of. Oh, we're going to put this out because it's got such good shit going on, right? Right. And basically, I think it's like veteran. It is called U.S. Army veteran caller unpacks Graham Platner's situation. So let's talk about internal biases. Do you think that they might like to have on at the Majority Report somebody who lived in Iraq or Afghanistan when Graham Platner was serving? Would you like to do that? Because I think that's fair, Maybe someone who was in Abu Ghraib, if you can get a hold of them. But there's also testimonies, so if you wanted to get the word on what happened in Abu Ghraib, you can just go straight to the torture victims' testimonies. So, yeah, I think it's really shitty that their big defense of Graham is from another veteran. And it does feel like their producer, Brian, is just like such a big fan. And because he's from Maine and he's like, I'm so excited about this guy. And then everybody was pumped up, right? Same with Zoran. Apparently they have been calling for Jeffries to be replaced for over a year. And now Zoran's backing him and they're not. But we'll have a look at that in a second. All right, let's watch this. I've got things to show people based on this. I know a little bit. I've heard a little bit of this.
Who's this? Where are you calling from?
My name's Eric from the Bay. I'm just calling because I wanted to talk about this Platner issue. Just the background on me. I'm a 12-year Army veteran, and I just feel I've been really interested in
12-year Army veteran, hey? That's a long service. Just saying.
watching what's going on with, these sort of accusations of, Platner and people defending Platner, like that we're being credulous, believing that he didn't know what this tattoo meant, or that somehow he should have known what the tattoo meant. And I just wanted to share a story that, from my time in the Army, which is, a few years before I got out, I was in a locker room changing. I look over at one of my, fellow soldiers, and I look over, he has a hammer and a sickle tattooed on his chest, crossed, And so obviously, sort of famous symbol, you can't really, confuse it for much else.
Imagine. Yeah, that's a pretty famous symbol. There's some other famous symbols as well. And I would say the Totenkopf is one. Yeah, the swastika is the main one. But,
So I asked him, I said, what is that? Are you a leftist, a communist? He sighs and more or less tells me, no, he got the tattoo when he was young because he's of Russian descent and he thought it was a symbol for Russia. Right? So this completely notable symbol that's hardly mistakable, he tattooed it on his chest, fully mistaking what it meant. Right?
Yeah.
And still has that tattoo to this day.
Yeah, that's a choice then. Hey, so he's not a communist or a socialist, which is, can I just say, those things are not bad to be. It's okay to be a communist.
Political guy. I've known the guy for years. I know he's not lying. And so these guys that
So I'm going to translate my relationship with somebody who isn't Graham Platner to this situation. My friend didn't lie to me. Therefore, Graham Platner didn't lie to me. It's a logic mistake, right? My friend had a tattoo that he didn't know the meaning of. Graham Platner, and when I talked to him, he expressed regret at not knowing what it was. And I knew he wasn't lying. Now, Graham Platner said he got a tattoo that he didn't know the meaning of. And because my friend said that they didn't know, I'm going to transfer that situation to Graham Platner, who I don't know.
Come into the Army, and, Platner joined at 18 in 2003, sometime right after high school. Got the tattoo, according to him, in 2007. He's in his early 20s. And the idea that, these guys in their early 20s, even now, much less 20 years ago, would have been so brushed up on their Nazi symbolism that if I were to take them into a tattoo parlor, here or abroad, and they walked in and looked at the flash wall and said, "Is that a totenkopf?" I would have thought you were a Nazi if you did that. If you knew what that was, because that's weird as shit. Why would you know that? Okay, Adolf, calm down.
Why did they laugh? That's not funny. That's ignorance. Like, are you not smart? Do you not have a brain in your fucking head? The point is, he knew it because he identified with that. Right? He knew it. And even if like on the off chance that he didn't know it, right? He said he wanted to get a big scary skull to represent his time in the military. He's the death bringer. It's the death's head. And he claims to be fucking a history buff. And when he talks about wars on his Reddit posts, he's got knowledge about war history. And isn't it interesting? So he had a post, in case you haven't seen it, where it said which wars would you have liked to fought in? And he listed a bunch of wars, all colonial or imperialist regime, America sticking their nose in wars. Strangely enough, not World War II or World War One. That's usually everybody's like, to be one of the D-Day heroes. Look, and I know that's a complicated thing. Fucking Churchill, who I loved for a bit, but now I know he's awful. See, when you know better, you do better. Yeah, like, what the fuck? Of course he knew that. Or he learned it along the way and just still didn't get it covered up. Like your friend, dickhead. And okay, Adolf, remember my pile of books? This isn't even all my books on the Nazis. This is a small amount of my books right here on the Nazis. Right? I'm not a Nazi for having this many books about it. I am interested in World War II history. And I would say that there will be quite a few people in their 20s. For instance, like Chris Kunzler, who's a great British content creator who did a degree in Middle Eastern Studies and a postgrad in something like that as well. Betcha he knows what a Totenkopf is. Like, so many people know that. It doesn't make them fucking Nazis. It's bizarre. And everybody knows, like, they were on, he got it in the Ukraine, I think. In one of the Slavic countries. Maybe it still exists. I can't remember right off the top of my head. They have a Nazi culture. I know that much. Oh man, my dogs are driving me nuts at the moment because they are trying to chase lizards under my empty plant pots and they keep knocking them over. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Knowing what a Totenkopf is doesn't make you a fucking Nazi. That's insane. That's an insane claim. And they are entertaining it.
You know, like it's insane to me that people think that these people, like most people today, don't know what that is. 20 years ago, it would just do us well.
Wrong. Absolutely wrong. I wonder if Majority Report have ever talked about the meme. Are we the baddies? I would say more people now know what it is than before. But World War II history is very fucking popular. There is an entire World War II section at every JB Hi-Fi, which is like, they sell like DVDs still. Good for them. But you know, the History Channel, World War II documentaries. We have like, it's not a public, it's more like Al Jazeera, although Al Jazeera is on SBS, but it's not a mainstream like news channel in Australia. And I used to say they had Nazi Friday because they would show all the Nazi documentaries. That is a blight on the statement of American education, right? Because usually they celebrate World War II because of the greatest generation who fought in World War II proudly against Hitler. They were anti-fascist, Antifa, and now they're being targeted. But it's just wrong. People know what it is.
Remember that this sort of hypervigilance around Nazi symbolism and dog whistles was not as prevalent 20 years ago. It's very much a product.
I disagree. Absolutely not. I'm going to bet this is a white man.
Of politics right now, you know,
100%. And also, I just remind people too, like 2007 in those years, you're just like coming into high bandwidth internet. So unless like you're looking for something and you want to spend 15 minutes for your dial up to land you there, it's not like these things. I mean, I will say this. I had never heard the word Totenkopf before this, and I would not be able, and I probably saw it on uniforms like in movies, but just never noticed what it was. But if you put all of those skull and bones, I mean, when I was a kid, I had a shirt with a skull and bones that I thought was cool. I mean, my own personal opinion is that he probably figured out what it was several years ago, but was also like, well, it's not like I can justify this to me, speaking to himself, and anybody who knows me knows I'm not a Nazi. So am I really going to go and pay for this thing to get all screwed up? That's my guess. Or the guy's not going to be wearing it at a wedding where his sister-in-law is Jewish, and I imagine she invited her family. Like if he knew at that time or felt like it was obvious, he probably would have been a little bit like, I don't want to create a problem for my brother. My sister.
Yes, fucking hilarious how yeah, sure. If this makes you feel better about voting for him, like, sure. What a pile of shit. What an absolute pile of shit. This isn't a simple skull and bones. It's not a cool skull and bones. I have a fucking skull on my arm. It's a well-known symbol, especially to somebody in the military. And I don't know about this, Sam, but there are Jewish Nazis. Stephen Miller, anybody?
Well, his family's going to go back and going like, why was that shirtless Nazi singing at the wedding? I just don't.
Did any of them even say anything? Probably
I
not.
just don't think any of that it makes sense, Frank.
I would probably not say anything. I'd go, fucking hell, that's weird. Is that tattoo? Can you see that tattoo? Like, it's a bad tattoo. It's a shitty tattoo. Like, it doesn't have much fucking pigmentation. The lines are blown out. Like, it's not a good tattoo.
I don't think anyone at the Majority Report are big into tattoos. I am. And so even Graham said he walked into the tattoo parlor, looked at a flash sheet, picked the scary skull, and that's how it happened. Do you know what else is on a flash sheet, everybody? So this is like, sometimes when you get a tattoo, they will draw something up made to order. Like my moon tarot card has, in the original moon, there's 2 dogs. I asked for them to be dash hounds. It's very cute. My tattooist did a fucking amazing job. And that's like made to order. So you may get charged a little bit more because they spend a little bit more time preparing it. However, most tattooists have a bunch of flash sheet, which is like a sheet of tattoos that you can choose from that they have done, designed themselves, and so on. A flash sheet has a theme, right? So some tattooists do Black Friday tattoos and they're all like black cat, an 8-ball, a witch's hat, a bat, whatever. And what do you think was on the flash sheet with the rest of the tattoos? If there was a theme. Other Nazi tattoos, probably? Yeah. That thought only just occurred to me because I was thinking about flash sheets. And I'm like, oh my God. If he picked that off a flash sheet, I've said that so many times now, it sounds like I'm insane, then the theme would be Nazi iconography, right? He definitely knew what it was, is what I'm trying to say. But that's a little tattoo knowledge for your nerves. But yeah, he definitely knew what it was.
It's clear what it is, though.
I mean, but yeah.
No, I mean,
go ahead.
I 100% agree. I mean, it's just, to me, I've seen so many people talk about like, oh, he should have known, or there's no way he couldn't have known. Nobody knew. And 20 years ago, nobody was thinking about fascism. Everything was war on terror. Nobody's paying attention.
Nobody was thinking about fascism. This is a very America-centric thing, okay? There are parallels to the Third Reich to America all over. Guess what, everybody? Guess what? Ready? Are you ready for this? The Nazis were influenced by America. Like, people outside America, we were thinking about it. We were looking at the parallels, and they're still happening, P.S., because, Trump. But just because you didn't know, maybe you're fucking dumb as rocks, other people knew. There were still documentaries around when there wasn't dial-up modem or whatever. Fucking, oh, people didn't know what things meant before the internet. Yes, they did. Yes, they fucking did.
And these guys are, high school diplomas coming out, going into what's basically, especially if you're going into the combat arms infantry, you're going to like a frat house environment, right?
Graham Platner went to private school. He read Hemingway. He had a good education. He knew what it fucking was. And if he can prove that he didn't know, he should get his money back from his private school, because, he should have known that.
And also, he was in the Marines. He wasn't in infantry to start with. He also did travel around Europe. Do you think he might have visited some places in Europe that might have been all about Nazis? Possibly.
They don't know what this stuff is. So, anybody who's trying to say that he should have or didn't is just trying to like launder their perspective through hindsight. You didn't know either. You're just trying to score points or something. But
I don't want to get my pile of books again, right? But I did fucking know. In my original video, right? Just about Graham Platner, I told a story how I was an early career drama teacher, and we were doing political theatre, and we wrote like the class and I wrote a play, which is like Little Susie Adventure Around the World or something like that, and she went around to all the world's worst atrocities, okay? And one of the atrocities was a match between the Jewish people and the Germans. And okay, so why do people join the military then if they don't set you up and it's not their job? If you went into a job, this man spent 12 years, he said, and you came out with no skills, people would not join the army. Right? But it doesn't just give you like no skills. It doesn't set you up. So student loan, VA, I know that it could be more, but healthcare, right? A lot of veterans work in veteran affairs too. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because we get told over and over, well, he had to do that. He had to do that. He didn't have any skills. Could have stayed in the army. He said he would have stayed in the military. Oh, by the way, in the video before, I had like a tiny piece of food on my mouth. I'm embarrassed by it. And I even put lip balm on and didn't notice. Anyway, because I am also filming on camera and the screen's about like this big, so I can't see that there's food on my face. Yeah, if it didn't have some benefits, people wouldn't go. They wouldn't do it. Right? And if this man sounds like he's dumb as a box of rocks because he thinks, because he doesn't know what a Totten cough is, that nobody does. The arrogance of it all. If you didn't learn anything to facilitate getting a job, then that's on you. But what? I'm pretty sure they make you clean and make your bed. Go be a cleaner. Be a janitor, you know? This is nonsensical.
Right, but it's not a guaranteed opportunity when you get out of the military that you're just going to be set up. And especially so for these guys in combat arms, because, Brian may remember this, there's a program in the Army where you go in and put your skills in.
Everybody cry. I'm so sad that the combat armed people, they don't get jobs automatically when they get out. Oh no. Those people, the combat veterans, people who killed other people, oh, I'm so sad for them. And what war did he fight in again? Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay.
And it's supposed to pop out a list based on your skills you earned in the military of all the jobs you could possibly do when you get out. And so I watched a guy who was a combat arms guy put it in the thing, and the list popped out, manager at McDonald's. And there's nothing wrong, I want to state, with being a manager at McDonald's.
Yeah. But he's going to have a butt right now.
So let me get this straight. You knew one guy who had a hammer and sickle, and he didn't know what it was. So that's your logic for saying that Graham Platner didn't know what it was. Now you've got a different friend who had manager at McDonald's come out as a job option for when they come out of the military. And that's your second piece of evidence that Graham Platner had to have a job with Blackwater.
At all, period. End of story. But if you're given the choice, like I'm going to go make $15 or $20 an hour being a manager at McDonald's, or I'm going to take a $130,000 cush office job with benefits at Northrop Grumman, what choice are you making?
The choice that doesn't kill brown people or support killing brown people in far off lands that don't, out of sight, out of mind, right? That's the choice I would make, because I don't want to. Yeah, was he in a cushy security job? So, who gives a fuck if that's what the job was? It's for a purpose of oppressing other people. That's not a good enough excuse. I'm sorry. So this man, this one veteran with two friends who did something, right? Which gives him the right to make all these sweeping statements about Graham Platner. He said something very interesting that I know, because I've already watched this, Sam Cedar doesn't address. He mentioned the minimum wage, and he mentioned the wage that you would earn being a McDonald's manager. It's shit, right? It is. When Australia has a better minimum wage than you guys, the fuck are you doing? And $15 to $20. Now, I know for a fact that McDonald's in Australia employs juniors at 13 and something. And they have a special deal with the government so that they can charge less, right? And yeah, it's a shitty rate. Guess what a good leftist would do? He probably wouldn't go and kill people or contribute to a system that does that. Should have seen these clowns. They know whether I had to clean up the yard and to mow the yard, and I put all their toys and extra balls in a container on a thing, and these guys were like on a chair on a they like, how the frick did you get so smart? Anyway, they looked like they were in a cartoon putting like scaffolding together. Luckily, Wilbur's not in charge. He's the smartest, but he's not in charge, thankfully. So a real leftist would challenge that. Isn't it a shame that the minimum wage hasn't risen? Instead of going and profiting from the misery of others in, less fortunate areas. I don't know that either of them are developing countries, or we don't say third world, but if they're not as advanced, and it's not even as advanced, because America is shit. It's shit to their poor people. There are so many people living in poverty in America. They are not the people to be trying to implement their way of life anywhere. And just the fact that this argument is centered around justifying the man going and making $100,000 in a cushy job in being in a fucking military contractor, instead of challenging the minimum wage and doing something that will actually help people. He says he didn't like being in the contract business because he thought it was a waste of money. He doesn't think about the people, right? If he cared about people, if he cared about
everyone, not just his own people, right? He wouldn't have done it. And it is a bullshit argument that they are presenting here. And especially as the majority presents itself as a leftist organization. They say they are leftists. They don't just say they're progressive. They don't just say that they're liberals. They say they're leftists. And they're fucking not. They're libs. They're blue MAGA libs, and fuck them. Have I said fuck Majority Report like 5 times now? Fuck them.
Right? And maybe you wouldn't make that choice. Maybe you'd make that
Most people don't.
choice on principle, but you're making that choice out of privilege. A lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Out of privilege. Right. Okay. Me. That's out of privilege. Fucking hell. This is ridiculous. And like I said, this was on their show. They put it together as a clip and replayed it. They think this is good. They think this is great. Oh, man, I'm so angry at that. Because guess who had privilege in this situation? Graham fucking Platner has privilege. White, cis, het, man, owns his own home, comes from privilege, didn't have to work as a mercenary because he had been to university, he worked as a bartender, his mother owns a restaurant. Shut the fuck up.
People have to do what is necessary for their families, and a lot of these jobs are just office jobs, right? A lot of these are like no.
So who cares? It all supports one agenda: American fucking supremacy.
No frills like Excel spreadsheet office jobs, at some
What's on that Excel spreadsheet? What's on that Excel spreadsheet? How many people did we kill in this place? Okay, yeah. That was a headshot. Who cares?
location for one of these government contractors. And I've seen a lot of people throwing around words like baby killer or war criminal regarding this issue. And
Everybody who served in, if you killed people, right? If you killed people in the war on terror, the Iraq or in Iraq or Afghanistan, you're a war criminal. It's not complicated.
Just find it incredibly short-sighted, and I think those people need to look at how veterans played critical roles in, like, not only anti-war movement but also the civil rights movement.
Yeah, they did. They did. There's in Bad Empanada's video, he plays a great excerpt from some men who served in the same war as Graham Platner, and they said that they regretted their time. They threw their medals away. They had solidarity with Iraq and Afghan people, and you can see that they do want to make a change. They're anti-imperialist. Those men do. You're not describing Graham Platner. He hasn't done that. He hasn't, his main point about Iraq and Afghanistan is that it was pointless. They didn't get anything out of it and they didn't win. He has not expressed any sort of apology for everything else. And, like I've said it before, but Greg Stoker, he is the model. He has a podcast called Colonial Outcasts. They talk about anti-imperialism, and also he was on the Global Samud Flotilla. He was locked up by Israel. Those are, right there, those are actions that show what his beliefs are, right? Graham Platner has words, but no actions.
And to say that all these veterans, especially...
Not all of them.
We're not talking about all of them. It's Graham.
Looking back at like Vietnam, all these guys that marched to the Capitol steps and threw their medals they would have had to earn in combat, probably killing people, throwing them on the steps. Like, you're going to get in between those people because they've killed people and say, actually, we don't want you here.
No, that's not what. Fuck you, man. This is bad faith argument.
You know, like, you're not going to give people an opportunity. You're not going to give this highly motivated, highly organized group of people that honestly we should be harnessing their
here's put it this way. Here's why I'm very, very skeptical of that charge, because for two reasons. One, we know that he has written, and people, if they're really actually interested and invested in what was in his Reddit, they would know at this point, or they should know, that he wrote that his time in the military radicalized him.
No, it didn't. That's bullshit. He's lying to his audience now. We've read the fucking Reddit posts. We've read the Reddit post, dickhead.
And looking back on it, there were things that he was proud of in terms of his relationships with the Afghani people. There was other things that he felt horrible about. But here's the amazing thing. I haven't heard a single thing about Seth Moulton being a baby killer. He also served 4 terms in the military. 4 tours in Iraq, I should say. And we don't hear anything about that. And so
maybe, yeah, like, maybe not. Maybe it's because you haven't thrown your support behind Seth Moulton, but you have thrown your support behind this guy.
Like, I am extremely, I think most of the critique.
Also, Reddit's not real. Reddit is like, you're not going to put all of your real thoughts the whole time because you can be tracked to you. Like,
comes from people like Seth Moulton, who have Seth Moulton's politics, who want Janet Mills and are reaching for anything. And then the other is, I think that it comes from.
Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, they want Janet Mills to win. No, motherfucker. We just don't want you to support a fucking clear person with a million red flags.
Basically, I would call them campists, who are concerned and have a problem with a leftist running as a Democrat because it undermines their project for a third party, which I have seen fail time and time and time again.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, why has it failed, Sam? It's because people like you tell them not to invest in it. They say, don't bother. There's only 2 parties. Keep it at 2 parties, hoping that you'll pull the party left. And it is already evident that they don't. That's what's failed over and over and over and over again that we should be talking about. If Zoran Mamdani had been a real leftist, I don't think he's a real leftist, he would, and when he won that primary, it was with populist message that were very influenced by the left, right? And he won and immediately started walking to the center. And somehow you're still like, oh, we love him. That's what keeps happening. He ran as a Democrat. They pull them right. They pull them right. We don't pull them left. And so the Greens Party in Australia was very small, and slowly they've been building up. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to keep on pushing it. You have to.
Those, to me, are the 2 dominant voices we're hearing. I would say probably the sort of the Janet Mills one is more dominant in this instance. But that's my sense. But I appreciate the call.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah.
And we should say, Brian, when Brian put that in there, it got it spit out. Came out of the military.
What do you think it said?
It said, producer, you've got some time, but eventually if things go well, you'll be at the Majority Report.
Executive producer. This is from Alex Seats-Wald, who is up in Maine editing the Mid-Coast Villager.
Yeah, he used to be a national reporter. I think he was at like MSNBC. He moved up to Maine and thought that he was just going to be covering local news, and now all of a sudden...
Now he's the guy up there. But he had this quote from this piece. Avi Gabel-Richards, a childhood friend of Platner's who now works as a stonemason and trail worker in Acadia National Park, said he encountered plenty of anti-Semitism and ignorance about Judaism growing up in Down East Maine, now from the closest synagogue in Bangor, but never from Platner. He was at my bar mitzvah. Of course he knows I'm Jewish, says Richards, who has known Platner since before they were in kindergarten. If anything, I think he's probably more familiar with Judaism than the majority of people I've ever met or grown up with in Maine. Gable Richards said he has seen Platner's now infamous tattoo many times, but never thought anything of it.
I can add, as a Mainer, we moved to Georgia in between 8th and 9th grade, and that was the first time I met a Jewish person. So,
right.
There you go. And was it awkward when you were looking for the horns?
I was freaked out,
man. That's fucking ridiculous.
Do you know what I love about like this whole argument with Graham Platner is it's like everyone's like, who cares about actual evidence? Let's just take the opinion of one person, right? The guy on the phone had singular people who told him stuff that he applied to Graham Platner. Another person in this fucking newspaper says, oh, he's not anti-Semitic. He was at my bar mitzvah. He was never anti-Semitic to me. Great. Guess what? Stephen Miller's a fucking Jew. And he is as anti-Semitic as fuck. All of those Jewish people at the top echelons of Israel are anti-Semitic. Like, this is a bullshit reason, and I you know, like to have them pull that single person who observed one single thing as evidence of this, and this, while Graham Platner's life exists as a fucking representation of what he has done, okay? Did he say some different words to what he's done? Yeah, he did. Because he's a liar. Anyway.
Also, I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I think he's a secret Zionist, actually, because his stepbrother. Like, I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I don't think he got that Nazi fucking tattoo because he hates Jewish people. I think he got it because he's just a bigot, because he's an imperialist, because it represents domination over people. Because the Nazis didn't just oppress Jewish people, they oppressed everyone who wasn't white. Right? Like, what a bullshit argument. Straw man, Jesus fucking Christ. That's not what people have a problem with. It's so ridiculous. And I am just disgusted that I ever gave them money. God, I want a fucking refund. Like, disgusting. Yeah, did he? He wasn't nasty to his Jewish friend? That one fucking person? I've got news for you guys, and I know, like, you're a news podcast, but the personal anecdotes of one single person in another person's life, right, about Graham Platner, doesn't make it universal. Anecdotal evidence is the weakest. Like, it's just... Imagine losing your credibility over that guy. That's what they've done. All right. We're going to have a little skip into Zoran Mandami and what they're saying about Zoran. So Zoran Mamdani gets elected, right? Now, he says in his speech he's a democratic socialist.
He leads with a Eugene Debs quote, who was a famous union leader. I hadn't heard of him, but I'm Australian. I know Peter Laylaw. He's our big union person. Eureka Stockade, mining gold, etc. Long time ago. And he, does all that. And lo and behold, we say that the Democratic leadership has been shit. They have the same donors as the Republican Party. It's controlled opposition. They don't do anything. They write letters and do a little bit of social media stuff. They try to copy Zoran, but and now Zoran's gotten elected by being not that. And he's saying, oh, but we shouldn't, let's not run against Hakeem Jeffries, one of the weakest leaders for this moment. And everyone in the progressive and / leftist content creation space and news media has been saying, we got to get rid of Jeffries. We got to get rid of it. Someone needs to primary him. Someone needs to primary him. Everybody's been saying that. And now Zoran comes out and says, don't primary him. Support. We need a united front for the 2026 elections. I hope this is exactly what it was with Kamala. We have to do this because otherwise we'll lose. We have to do this because otherwise we'll lose. Is there something more important than winning? If you win on Kamala's platform, which was weak as hell, it did nothing for Palestine. She used the words the most lethal army, just like everybody's saying, Pete Hegseth is he's such a war hawk. So was Kamala. She made the statement, we have the most lethal army, and I plan to, keep that going. And now the supposed progressive, the one who got elected originally, each time he got more conservative. He danced back to the center. He was yelling at Tom Homan. And then last week he was having a little kiki with fucking Donald Trump in his office. Oh yes, look at us, we're so cool. And Mamdani asked for that meeting. He's not the mayor yet. He said he wouldn't go to Israel because he wanted to serve his constituents. And meanwhile, he's making appointments to go to fucking Washington. It's the fell for it again award. And do you know what? I fell for it. I cheered. Walking to my little car, coming home from work because that's when the news hit. I cheered when he won the primary. Because when he was in the primary, he was saying the most populist things, the most left-leaning things, and ever since then, each time he wins something, he goes back to the center. And so what he's done, I don't know why any of them would take his word at the DSA now, because he has walked away from so many of their fucking ideals. It makes me mad. He appeared at their meeting, their DSA meeting, Brooklyn meeting on Wednesday night, and he warned of division ahead of 2026 congressional race. It's so ridiculous that they also, do you know how you're in a fascist government takeover right now? And they think that there's just going to be congressional races like there normally is. He asked members not to endorse Chiyose's 2026 challenge. Osei wants to help Mamdani in his campaign, and now he thinks it'll hurt the party. And he spoke up to keep them united. Fuck that. And also, Hakeem Jeffries, on the same day that Mamdani was going and kicking in with Donald Trump, Hakeem Jeffries made this useless fucking vote about we don't believe in socialism. And that was directed at Mamdani. What the fuck are they doing? It's so ridiculous. And he said, I have to serve all the constituents. Yeah, you know what? That's what they all say. And it's just, fuck him. Fuck Zoran Mandami. Honestly. So he was on the Majority Report the other day, and as a listener of the Majority Report, every single fucking day up until about a month ago, they have been calling for the primarying of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries the whole time. They haven't met the moment. They're too weak. They don't, they just don't meet the moment. And now they didn't even ask him about it. I haven't watched this, but I was a little bit moving away from Blakely. She's a content creator. She got big on TikTok, and she was really pushing for Zoran. And now, however, and so I sort of was not following her for a bit there. But now she has spoken up about the Hakeem Jeffries nomination and about the Majority Report not questioning him. So we'll see what they say. It makes me angry to watch them now, honestly. And again, this is a highlight they wanted. It's called Zoran Mamdani on NYC endorsements. It makes me angry to watch them now, honestly. And again, this is a highlight they wanted. It's called Zoran Mamdani on NYC endorsement.
Is it your kind of belief that delivering on your agenda in terms of the macro constituency that Sam was just speaking about is the best way to kind of show how the movement can expand and have more politicians like yourself across the country run in that way?
Well, that's shit. Why would we want people to run like him? He's gone immediately to the center. He's keeping on Zionists.
And I would imagine that was motivating you and what you said to DSA.
Oh, isn't that? Yeah, it's so good that you're providing this support for him. I'm so glad that you are, this is giving him cover. Fuck the Majority Report again, all right?
And two, does that mean that you're ruling out supporting primary challenges broadly throughout the city?
No, that I've made no sweeping decision on something at a
No, it's just Hakeem. Just the leader of the party.
Larger level as that. And to your first question, I think often about what Bernie said at our rally, which was
another absolute disappointment and traitor to the left. He could have started a movement and he stayed in the Democratic Party.
That what our opponents in the campaign feared the most was the power of example. And that example is not of just winning the election. That's the example of delivering a rent freeze, of fast and free buses, of universal childcare. Because those are things you can hold on to. Those are things that you can actually feel and see in your life. And so,
what the fuck is he? Is he on a potato? This man has a slick social media team. What the fuck is happening?
So much of politics is this game of translation where a politician says something and then you have to jump through 10 hoops to understand how it relates to you, or if you're eligible, or if you hit the threshold. And these are not things that require that kind of a translation. These are things that are...
Guess who does that? Guess who does that? Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer do that. They do the fucking jumping through hoops. They have the Majority Report. We have seen Cory Booker get interviewed on I've Had It podcast, and he did that. The establishment that you're saying we need to be good and not make waves so that we can win in 2026. They do that.
Direct to our lives. And I remember when I was running for assembly, a friend of mine, Kara McCurdy, who's an incredible photographer who works on our campaign, I gave her the palm card that we had just designed with Anish, who actually created the logo for this mayoral campaign. And I thought...
I hate their branding, actually. I think it's... I don't know. I just don't... I think it's... It doesn't look professional. That's just a personal thing, though. I get it. I don't know. It just looks a little bit... It looks a little bit goofy. I don't think it's... I don't know. I just didn't like it. Some people might
have. It was
have.
the best palm card we'd ever made. And she looked at it and she said, what do these words mean? And we were just using a language that speaks only to a very specific set of people. And I think it just comes back to that you need to speak directly to people, you need to speak about policies that are also direct to their lives, and it all needs to be without translation. And so to me, once we succeed in the fulfillment of any part of this agenda, it becomes an example of why New Yorkers made the right decision to believe that politics could be more than this, as opposed to that they were wrong to have hope again.
I'm not going to watch any more of it, but I know they didn't ask him directly about supporting Hakeem Jeffries, because Hakeem Jeffries definitely does not speak in a way that is translatable, and neither does Chuck Schumer, because when they were talking about the budget and they were talking about a clean, continued resolution, the way that they did the budget, there's all these complicated terms, and they were talking in those terms. Basically, what they're saying, the budget was dirty. It was a dirty budget, and they don't have the words for that. Yeah, it would be nice if politicians did speak plainly. He's right, but he's doing that, right? Oh, here's the rent freeze, but it's not for everyone. P.S. It's not for everyone. Universal pre-K will help people, and free buses. Obviously, that helps. But while he's doing that, right, everybody's getting their little treats, the police still has a Zionist leader. The New York City Police Department they're trained by the IDF, right? They are trained to crack down on universities and encampments and people who protest, pro-Palestine protesters, right?
Hey, sorry that the focus on my video was focusing on my hands and not my face, so it's a bit blurry, and that you maybe saw how dirty my fingernails are. I cleaned them after I saw that. Sorry about it.
I saw a really good debate on Brianna Joy Gray's channel Bad Faith, and it was with the Zoran fucking sycophant, and Nadine was her name, and she's a pro-Palestine activist, and she was saying, like, we hate that he kept on Jessica Tisch. She's made our lives hell. I've been arrested a number of times. And she had a very compelling argument to get rid of her. And the guy was like, well, where are you going to find an anti-Zionist cop? And it's like, are you fucking kidding? Like, this is all absolute hero worship, this one man. He's a politician. Okay? The sycophant, sucking up to him because you get an interview with him is ridiculous. Okay? That station has been demanding that Hakeem Jeffries be primaried, and they just had the man on who has a lot of influence. If him, AOC, and Bernie put their support behind someone else other than Jeffries, that would cinch the race for that person. But they haven't. They've said, stay with Hakeem. And the people who should be speaking up about that are not. It's really disappointing. As I said, I have watched every episode of The Majority Report for at least the last year, maybe like 2. They were my go-to. They were my daily, point of reference. I love that fucking show. And, to see them throw it away for a man who is a neocon, a war hawk, he has Nazi tattoos. And Zateo, I've got to cover now too. Fucking Zateo. On Zateo's comments, somebody said, oh, we here in Maine don't care about those scandals. Da 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 da. I'm like, okay. Weird. Okay, so you're Nazis? It's just a skull and crossbones. No, it's not. It's not just a fucking skull and crossbones. And he knows it, and we do too. I'm so tired of, it's the first time it's actually ever happened to me, really, where I've had so many left-wing sort of, Well, probably, sorry, it has happened recently with Zionism. I've dropped a whole heap of my favorites because they're Zionists. I will never watch another episode of Will and Grace. Fuck Deborah Messing. Radiohead, fucking Quentin Tarantino, absolute favorite. Best band I ever saw, Radiohead. Fuck 'em. My favorite movie maker of all time, Quentin Tarantino. Fuck him. And these guys now. Fuck them. Fuck the Majority Report for a third time. Yeah. They're still getting numbers. People still fucking. I have to look sort of sideways at people who go on there, because they're liberals. They're libs. They were the whole time. I should have. Bad Empanada needs to make it. Bad Empanada is always right, and he is.
So I'm going to leave it there. This is going to be multi-part, just like my other video, but this video is dedicated to Majority Report, and the next one's going to be Carl Kolinsky and the Vanguard together, and then I might do Crystal Ball with them, but I've also got to do Zateo, Francesca Fiorentini, Hassan, and maybe others. But yeah, stay away from these fucking news outlets. They don't deserve your money. They don't deserve your views. They don't deserve your attention if they are going to act without principles, which is what they're doing. So, thanks for watching, and if you can like and subscribe, I would appreciate that. I will see you in part 2.